What's up, Farouk? What's up, Stickman? What's up, TK? Yeah, you're just here for Nikki. What's up, Carrie? Yeah, hi, Jen. Glad you finally got to talk to the real Ethan. That was pretty interesting. I can promise you I will never ask you for money, and I will never ask you to send me any personal information. I can promise you that. So, for anyone else that ever gets DM'd by some sort of Ethan, I would say there's a 99% chance it's not me. Like I said, I'll never ask you for money. Personal information, I'm never going to do a copy trading thing. A lot of people will do scams like that, where they'll say that, do you want to join my copy trading thing? Basically, I'll trade for you. Give me either your account information, give me a credit card, send me Bitcoin. There's just so many different ways to scam. You do? Oh, good. I feel famous finally. I felt like when even the first year and a half or so when I was here, I never had any fake ones. But y'all should send them my way. Make a group chat with me in them because I love to talk to them. Honestly, I get friended by sometimes, and I have a conversation with myself. It's really fun, and they're just oblivious to it, which is insane. So be very careful. Yeah, good. I love messing with scammers. It's honestly a hobby of mine sometimes. But if again, if this stuff ever happens in the future, just ask me in the chat first. Please never send anyone money. This would not be my job if I needed to ask you guys for money. I can promise you that. So just please be safe. If you're single, you might get a message from me. One of my favorite things to do, like I've had people ask for account numbers, social security numbers, whatever, and let's say that the account number is 9 digits. I'll give them 8 digits, unbelievably slow, and then I will restart. Obviously, fake numbers to begin with, but that's always fun. Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of fake Pookies, a lot of fake Nickies in here. But yeah, if y'all ever want to have some fun, just throw me in a group chat with another fake Ethan, and I'd be happy to talk to him. But yeah, Jen. So I knew you were talking to that fake Ethan about some other things, but whenever you're ready, you can ask the questions here if you like as well. No, you're definitely not. There is one and only Jedi Master, that's for sure. Anyways, I just want you guys to be aware that, and I wish there was something we could do about it. But there's just not. But yeah, guys. So interesting day today. Kind of tough price action off the open, but I talked about that Tesla move all day, and we got it in the close. I was super super happy with that. I turned what was a really small red day into a nice green day from that. So yeah, it was just kind of interesting. I'd be more than happy to walk through it. I think some of y'all did catch it, which I was happy about. I may take 5 trades like this a year, if that. I typically never trade power hour. A lot of the time, I'm done in the first hour. Today I stuck around for like almost 2 hours in the morning, waiting for that exact move. And once you don't get a move, especially after 2 hours of open, lunchtime comes around. So that's typically where the odds are super, super low that, you're going to end up getting a big move. Does it happen sometimes? Yes. But I would say there's maybe even like a 90% chance you're not going to get a move like that until the end of the day when that volume comes back, right? Traders come back to their desk. People are wanting to create positions. to hold overnight, buying the clothes, selling the clothes, stuff like that. So that was a big reason why I was kind of waiting for the end of the day here on this. But does anyone have any questions on this trade today? I'm happy to kind of walk through the whole thing if you guys want. Just, you guys speak out. Would you like me to go through the whole thing? Does anyone have any specific questions on it? I hope, if y'all all understand it, that's great. If not, I can literally go from the very beginning on why I was looking at this. So I'm guessing that's probably what you guys are going to want. But I'm happy to answer any specific questions first. Anyone? Any new guys? I'm happy to do it. Some of y'all that have been around me a lot probably understand kind of my thought process here, but there's no problem going over it again. Just give me a yes or a no. If not, if y'all have other questions or other tickers, throw that in here also. Again, for you guys that are free, I only do this once a week. All of my other time is spent with premium people and my coaching students. So this is kind of your time with me. So ask your questions, get them in. I have an hour here with you guys. There are no bad questions. At what point did I know to enter the trade? So I knew that if we could start holding above 280, I wanted to try to get in that trade. I had obviously tried to kind of buy that opening dip here around 280, 278, kind of in this area. And when that just kind of instantly failed, right, I took a very small loss on that starter position. I then kind of tried it later in the day when we broke this downtrend. We got up here, then once that kind of failed, I took another small loss on that. But that was just at lunchtime. So I just, I wanted to try to be involved around a break of 280. So the reason I sized pretty small on this one too here in the middle of the day, simply because it was, it was lunchtime. It was noon for me. It was 1 o'clock Eastern. So once it got back above, so I bought a little tiny position again here off VWAP, knowing that if we kind of break under like 276, I'd just move on for the day. So I bought a little bit off VWAP here. And then once we got back above 280, we kind of broke, held, got back above. And then once I saw this break here at 281, that's when I started entering the majority of that position there. And then it was pretty much like, I am holding this if we go under 280 again, I'm out. Other than that, I want to hold this basically in the close because I think that we could see a strong close on this. We have high of the day here at 283.50. Pre-market high was 286.30. We also had that 285 level there that had a big wall. So there's just a lot of levels that I thought that we could go take out. But yeah, pretty much like just kind of a break and close and some strong movement here into the end of the day when volume could kick up. This was my entry spot right here. Does that make sense to you guys? At the firm, does anyone trade puts and calls on the same ticker same day? Most guys, they just trade equities. There are guys that will kind of scalp puts and calls, but it's more so like when they position in options, they're looking for really big multi-100% moves, and they go in with basically sizing to lose 100%, right? Because in that world it's different. They could buy $100,000 of the Tesla stock and they're not going to lose $100,000 on that, right? They're going to have an X amount of risk. But on options, they could spend $5,000 on options and not care about it because they know the max risk they have there is $5,000. But they could also make 200, 300, 400% on that move. And they can also kind of trade it with equities as well. So they also use options a lot for hedging and stuff, but most, they have enough capital, right? So they can trade stocks like Tesla and Meta, and they can buy a couple thousand shares of it, which costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. If I had that kind of money, I wouldn't have to trade options the way that I do. This is just kind of a way for me to leverage my money And, obviously, because I don't have millions of dollars to trade with. So I don't know if that answers your question, Latvian, but mainly equities. It's all good on Rod, as long as you understand the trade. Is there any calculation for gamma delta, like how high is going to reach approximately? So Amanda, if you want to calculate where like if you want to say, okay, what is my contract going to be worth if Tesla gets to, I don't know, 300, right? If you want to calculate that, you're going to want to go to options, profit calculator, I think that's spelled right, .com. It's obviously all one word, but options profit calculator. And then you can go, you can literally plug in your contract, your entry price, how many contracts you have. And then you can see there's kind of a chart and it'll show you on what day of expiration, right? Like if it gets to 300 tomorrow, you can see exactly how much it'll be. If it gets to 300, on Friday, you can see how much it would be. So if that's kind of what you were asking there, that's my recommendation. Rather than having to actually do the math with delta and gamma, I would do it that way. No, yeah, Latvian, no, they typically wouldn't do that. I missed the trade this afternoon, but I mean, on earnings, Latvian, they would, kind of do like straddles or strangles or whatever, but typically they won't kind of go long and short, but unless it's like a, kind of a crazy penny stock, kind of low float stock, squeezes and drops, whatever. I missed the trade this afternoon, saw it dip below 276 and thought it was dead trade for today. Yeah, I did too. But a big reason that I kind of paid attention to this for the entire day was honestly the way that it held VWAP. So I hope you guys can see this, but obviously this orange line here is going to be VWAP. Okay, so we got under VWAP all the way down close to 270, got bought back up. You can kind of see buyers holding above VWAP. We quickly dropped under it back to 275 on, I think the market kind of pulled back a little bit. Quickly, within 10 minutes, was back above VWAP, held above VWAP for the rest of the day, right? We saw it come and test it again. We see it test it again here. Then after this final test, once we got back above 280, it was just obvious that buyers were still in control for the day. Sellers got out of the way, and that's where we got that really strong kind of close. So does that make sense, Scott? And honestly, guys, that's a great example on why I use VWAP. And I mean, typically I talk down on a lot of indicators, but the middle VWAP is sometimes very, very useful. Where do you see Tesla going at opening tomorrow? I don't know. Tesla obviously closed very strong today, and I'm going to follow the trend. If Tesla opens up and is really weak, then I'm not going to chase it down. If Tesla is strong tomorrow off the open, I would look to trade the upside. I've kind of just been waiting for this to have a real bounce and start making moves higher. So I've taken advantage over the last 2 days. I'm not going to try to be greedy. I'm not really going to try to force it tomorrow. Honestly, for me, I'm probably going to stay away from it. I think that 300 is going to be a pretty solid profit target for people, considering we were just at like 220, last week. So I want to be careful tomorrow. So, but I don't know, Wowzers. I think it could go up or down. I don't know, but I would probably look to trade the upside small and be very careful on the downside. Does that make sense? We've just if you go on like a daily chart here, it's just been 1, 2, 3 days just kind of gapping up here. There's blow off top trade where it kind of capitulates, and on that third day, if it gaps up, or on that fourth day, there's a chance for it to really get smacked. Tesla also has an event tomorrow at the Capitol. It's for those human-looking robot things they have are. So who knows if that'll be good or bad? Could be a sell the new situation. So we could see a downside move tomorrow. But just to kind of wrap up that thought, I do want to be careful. I'm not looking, there's no A plus setup here. I'm not really looking to chase this with big size or anything like that. So, Stickman, I'm curious to hear what you know on that event tomorrow. Yeah, it makes sense. I just seen it dip and went on with work. Yeah, it's all good. Look, typically I will never trade market close. This is a very rare occasion. Yeah, that's true. Have I checked out BA? I did look at BA this morning. To me, there's just BA is something I want to trade with news. I mean, there has been some volume the last couple of days, but we're just getting up to a pretty solid resistance here. I would be interested above 190. I do think that maybe there's going to be a trade there, but it seems like, we've already gone from 150 to 190. So unless there's some more good news, it's tough for me to want to chase it through that resistance. But yeah, I don't know. It looks interesting. I know there's been somewhat good news around it. I've also kind of seen some negative news. I don't know. I think they got there was some sort of lawsuit with like there was these 2 plane crashes or something, and I don't know. Boeing's always in the news, whether it's good or bad. So to me, I don't really want to trade airlines right now. I'm a little worried about it just because lots of plane crashes, lots of issues. And I think like most of them are actually up for the most part. Well, I guess not really. American Airlines is down. I checked some of them this morning. I guess I was looking at oil. That's what it was. So like Southwest has done good, but I know they had news, I think last week on charging people for, it was check bags or I don't know, something like that. Boeing might be taking the contract with a new jet. Oh, okay. The F-47 jet. Okay. So it's not confirmed yet, is what you're saying? Down with them and Lockheed's out. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that's definitely something we want to pay attention to. If you guys see that news, please share it, tag me, tell me about it, because that's something we could take advantage of. Did I ever get a trade this morning? I took a small starter position, Duco on Tesla, which I stopped out on. But later in the day, I caught pretty much, I think a lot of us actually, if you go into my coaching chat, a lot of us caught that end of day move on Tesla, which was awesome. It just was ripping. Yeah, Chad caught it. I mean, we just destroyed it. And I called it out basically the entire day in my that day trades by Ethan tab. If any of the premium members, y'all could see it, but it's my only trade idea this morning. And my charts, you can just kind of see me taking screenshots of it all day. It's awesome. So you free people, you could have paid for months of premium just today. It was awesome. But yeah, what other questions you guys have? I mean, it could be about anything. It could be about what platforms I trade on, psychology. Ask about me. If you're struggling with something, speak up. We're almost halfway through this. So you guys that aren't talking, remember, I only do this once a week. Fly fishing. Yeah, I love fly fishing. My class has been pretty fun. I'm kind of a teacher in it, though. I would hate ice fishing. Feelings on future micros for indices. What exactly do you mean? Seriously? Are they making more micro futures later on, Rod? If that means you're leaving. I really like reversals, but you don't trade during the trade, right? I don't trade during the trade. If you're asking like if I don't trade reversals, really, yeah, I'm not much of a reversal trader. I understand how to do it. I mean, I've done it before. Yeah, I'm typically done within the first hour, Gabriel's. Feelings on okay, so you're asking about futures, Sir Sleep. So yeah, I think that if SPY can really hold this 575 level, I think we could easily get back up to in the 580s, maybe even go back and test 600. I think that emotions are settling out. After all this tariff stuff and obviously that sell off on the market, I do think that things are calming down. Investors are calming down. People are starting to come back into the market because they're realizing this is just a total overreaction. But I don't know. We can easily just roll back over. So whenever you guys ask me what I think can happen, obviously I can come up with some sort of idea on what could happen. But something that I think that would change all of y'all's trading that asked that question is just telling yourself that I don't know. Nobody knows, right? And if anyone tells you that they know, they're obviously lying to you, and they're probably going to try to sell you some sort of course. The most experienced trader I've ever been around said that the most important thing about trading is that you don't know anything at all. And if you take that mindset into every day and stop trying to predict everything and hope and have ego and confidence in the fact that you think that you're, maybe you're on a winning streak and you think that you can't lose, that's the exact environment mentally that's going to crush you, because all it's going to take is one losing trade and you're not going to want to accept that. You know what I mean? So anyways, I want to just mention that because, I've had some people tell me I knew Tesla was going to do that. And I know that SPY is going to do that. And even just using that verbiage will kill you. Can you explain futures? I know you were explaining it this morning, but I missed a good bit of it. So futures, an easy way to think about futures is a basket with stocks in it, right? So SPY is the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 is the top performing 500 names in the U.S. and or at least in the U.S. stock market. So think of that being, SPY is the movement of that basket. And obviously there's, there's stocks that are weighted more heavily, right? So like NVIDIA has a bigger pool on SPY than a much smaller company, right? Like I don't know, Ford or something, even if that's in the S&P. I don't know. There's I don't know. Think about it as like a basket of things, right? And the NASDAQ is going to be kind of a basket more so of like tech stocks, right? So a lot of the stocks that I trade, NVIDIA, Tesla, Google, Apple, Netflix, those kind of names, those are all in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. But mine, the stocks that I trade are more tech stock related. So that's why I watch the NASDAQ a little bit more close. But I also want to see how is the NASDAQ trading against the SPY? Is the NASDAQ stronger than the S&P 500? Is it weaker? Are they trading the same, right? And then I see, okay, how is the stock that I'm interested in trading against the market? Is my stock stronger? Is the market selling off and my stock is going flat? Is the market really strong and my stock is not actually getting bought up, right? That shows weakness, right? Stuff like that. Do I ever listen to All In podcast? I have not. Pretty interesting. Cool. Okay. All in podcast. I'll look it up. One podcast or a video I would like y'all to watch. One second. Lance Bernstein. One second. Brightstein. That's what it is. This is a good one. Chat with Traders is a good podcast. I've listened to pretty much all of those. There was one recently that he did. It was really good. Here's it. Oh, this is it right here. This one was awesome. This guy's really cool. I've seen him in person. I didn't get to talk to him, but I've seen him. Yeah, so that guy on the middle left, his name is Jeff. He does a lot of the interviews for interns. So at the firm, one of my friends is going to intern there now. I kind of helped him get a spot. And he had to, my interview process was very quick. I had a 3-minute phone call with the head of trading. Now the intern process is extremely rigid. They do IQ tests, they do all this stuff. And he had to talk to this guy in New York, which is, kind of intimidating. But that guy in the middle left of that Spotify one that Latvian sent. And you guys probably recognize the guy on the very left there. I forgot his name, but maybe it's like John Holden or something. I don't know. He's in a lot of the S&B Capital videos. You guys should watch S&B Capital videos. I mean, I would hope that y'all are watching YouTube videos on your own. If you aren't, I mean, you guys got to understand that a lot of work goes on. And honestly, in that podcast that I sent right there, that last one, he talks a lot about his workday starts after the market closes, right? You get there, you kind of prepare for the day, you execute during the day, and then you go to work. That's when you journal, you study, you back test, you spend a few hours going over everything you did. What could you have done better? How well did you execute today? Would you do bad? Would you do good? What are other ways you could trade? What are other patterns you're seeing in the market? Stuff like that. And it's very true. I hope you guys are putting in work and watching videos, watching the education here. Coming to lessons is obviously really good, right? You can tell that, I have 80, 90 people in my live tradings and not even half of that in my lessons. And I can promise you guys, y'all that put the work in, come to the lessons, ask questions, and put the effort in, you are going to do the best. A lot of you guys that are regulars here, you've really improved. And it's not so much about making more money. It's more so the process, the discipline, the consistency of things. What else you guys got? What other questions or tickers? Got about 30 minutes left. Oh, you're all good to go. QBTS. Yes, I mean these quantum stocks. I haven't really gotten involved in them. Yeah, very choppy action today, and then you kind of got a real low a day break here, all the way down to about $8, and then that was kind of instantly bought up all the way back to almost 9. So yeah, kind of interesting. Nothing that I kind of would trade. It's also a very small stock. So, can you export your trades? You can see what criteria the stocks were on when you picked, and you can see a pattern. Yeah. So, Sir Sleep, there's a free trade tracker called Kinfo. You can actually, that guy Lance Breinstein or whatever that I just sent in, he's like #1 ranked on Kinfo. Um, and so Kinfo, basically you connect it to your account, and every day, at the end of the day, they'll export your trades, and you can, it's kind of a way to journal as well. A really good one though, but you have to pay for it, is TradeZella. I love TradeZella. I was one of the first customers to actually get that. I think it was 3 years ago. I got in on like when it was cheaper. I don't know. I got like my first year, like 75% off or whatever. And it's awesome. I mean, ton of journaling tools. It tracks everything. It does criteria, risk to reward. What setups you do well on. It's really, really solid. So if you guys are, I don't want to say like too lazy to write things down. And honestly, this may even be more efficient because you don't have to write it down for one, but there's also so many different things that you may not even think about when it comes to journaling your trades. TradeZella is great. So I think everyone should at least have Kinfo. It's it's good. I used to use it forever. And early on, it helped me track things down and kind of show me that, there's no reason to go for home runs. You go back and look at 6 months and you're like, why am I freaking out over one day? Why am I trying to make double my account in one day when if I were to just slow down and been consistent over these last 6 months, look at my win rate, look at my wins compared to my losses, and then look at if I could have taken out one thing that was huge to me is I go back and look at like my first few years, and I'll see that if I could just take away maybe 5 trades, maybe 3 trades that were just massive losses, I'd be beautifully green on the year. But those 3 losses either made me small green or red on the year because obviously there were huge losses. So seeing stuff like that will also kind of put things into perspective for you, as in consistency is so much more important than trying to make a ton of money early on, trying to go for home runs. Could I have made a lot more money on Tesla the last 2 days? Sure. I mean, I could have made 10 20 grand, right? Could have, but I'm happy with being up almost like $2,000 on a week, right? I'll take that every time. If I can make 2 grand a week, I'll make 100 grand a year working for an hour a day. You know what I mean? So try to put things into perspective, and please just really focus on consistency. Anyone have questions on that? Swung GME and DLTR. Couldn't get it to connect to Webull. You couldn't get what, Kinfo to connect to Webull, TK? That sucks. Okay. Well, I know Interactive Brokers worked. I know I'm pretty sure Thinkorswim worked. That's really weird. Did you look it up? Is it like, do they, I guess, not have licensing or something? Chag, are you coming to Chicago? Stickman, are you? Duco? Anybody else? Good. Maybe. Good. Gonna try. Awesome. I hope to see all you guys there. Latvian, you're going, right? Trying to figure it out. Yeah, I know. Well, you also need a little break from work too, Duco. Good, Latvian. You don't suck, Duco. What is this, Sir Sleep? Is that your account? Ah, that sucks. Porter will be there. Nice. Well, look, in the grand scheme of things, it's only $100. So, I'm glad that's not like life-changing money. But, I think you could look at that chart right there and you could kind of see how small and consistent you were early on for a while. And then you looks like you sized up and maybe took some trades to zero, Sir Sleep. So believe me, I've had many accounts like that in the early stages. It's part of it. Oh, that sucks, guys. YouTube X, you guys can ask questions as well. Yeah, tuition fees, man. It's a true thing. It's a very true thing. There's lots of ups and downs in the beginning of trading that you just have to go through. It's part of it. And obviously my job is to try to mitigate those. And, as much as I tell you guys, you're either going to listen to it and just kind of trust that I've made all the mistakes probably 10 more times than y'all have. Or, some things you have to just learn on your own. You have to go through it. You have to find that resilience in you. You have to have those tough times because then it'll never be worth it in the end if it was just super easy in the beginning. And two, it'll form you into a trader. Every trader in the world has gone through the grueling beginning, taking losses and stuff like that. Can you teach us how to use the VIX? So I never really look at the VIX. VIX is just kind of something I know in the back of my mind. So VIX, a nickname for it is the fear index. So it's not really something that you want to trade. Okay, so like no one really trades the VIX. It's more of a tracker on volatility. Okay, so when the market falls down, really fast, right? So you can see kind of back over here at the end of February, beginning of March, when the market was falling, you can see the VIX goes up. Why is that? Well, when the VIX goes up, that means fear is high. That means the market is selling off. That means that volatility is high. So what does that do to option contracts? That inflates option contracts, right? Because the volatility is up. What is IV? IV is implied volatility. And it's a way to track how volatility is in the market. So right now the market's kind of rebounding a little bit, and you're seeing VIX start coming back down. Does that make sense, Sir Sleep? So it's not really something you want to trade, but it can be just kind of a way to see what's going on. Yeah, SVIX and stuff like that. I mean, you can. To me, it's just not really my thing. But there are ways to capitalize on this. I mean, there are options on it, kind of. Not really stuff that you want to trade, but wow, look at that. It's pretty crazy. Anyways, it's just it's a fear index. Yeah, it's a good way to do that. On SVIX. Nice. 1923. That's solid. So besides buying the market, he would just buy SVIX. That's cool. I've never really seen that before. It's been a rough month. My plan again. Yeah, good, Duco. I know that sucks, especially to look at. I feel your pain, but coming back out of this, I hate to say it's worth it, but it is, because one, it'll prove to you that you can do it, and two, it'll make you look back on that stuff and think, what was I doing? What was I thinking? And it's gonna make you a better trader in the end. But I know the pain of seeing that. I have seen 10 times worse, that I can promise you. Oh, that's cool. Trading against the yen. Are you on a cap or a margin account, Stickman? That's good. Yeah. See, there you go. Here's a good example. Find what works for you. Day trading is tough considering your situation. So if you could just come in and make your 20, 30, $50, do that. And also don't trade SPX. The reason I ask is I see negative 138%. And what trades, what kind of trades are you taking though, Stick Man? Like, what are some things that you think that you don't do well with? What books you recommend? So, Market Wizard's a good one. I read, pretty sure it's called Market Wizards. That's a really good one. Let me just, I have to always look it up to remind myself the titles. I would honestly recommend, besides books, I would rather you listen to podcasts from professional traders. Those are always really good. Trading in the Zone is another good one. So I'll type those in here. So Market Wizards, Trading in the Zone. Those are two ones that I've read. How to Day Trade for a Living is another one that has a lot of like chart pictures in it, which was good. I haven't read Best Loser Wins, but that's also another good one that I've heard about, which is true. You all have heard me say that. Chat with Traders is a good one. I'll type it in here. Chat with Traders has a lot of traders on there that he brings on. Honestly, I would just look up trading podcasts and just go from there. There's just so many out there. I've listened to a ton. I mean, and also just YouTube videos, like the ones I was sitting above. Just Jen, if you scroll up, that Lance Brightstein or whatever, I don't know how to say it. He is extremely, extremely successful at this, and he was someone for I think it was him. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's him, but don't quote me on that. But he didn't make money for the first 9 years, and now he's one of the top traders at Trillium, which is a huge trading firm, and he makes 50 million plus a year on average. He's an 8-figure trader. It's insane. Good. Yeah. Yeah. I highly recommend you guys watch that stuff. It's extremely valuable to listen to traders, and some of these books, guys, that, I'm talking about, they're older, right? So they're good for trading psychology, but trading's very different than it was, 30 years ago in the 90s when electronic trading started becoming a thing. So a lot of these books, some of them were actually before that. And so, like I said, good for psychology, but a little tougher on today's modern style of trading. Yeah, the psychology is the hardest, but most important. I should write a book about the 24-hour market. What do you mean? I'm definitely not the most experienced writer by any means. Chat GPT is my writer. Yeah, that's true. I can get it published. It's just a lot of work. I'd rather focus on what I'm good at. But maybe in the future, right? Maybe when I'm 50, 60 years old and ideally retired, sailing on my yacht in the Mediterranean, I'll get to writing a book, you know. But until then, I got to make it as a trader first, you know. When I mean make it, I mean, you know, millions of dollars. I'm in school for like finance business stuff, but I think the last time I talked about this was maybe in Trader's Paradise or maybe here. But one thing that really surprised me from the trading firm is obviously they want guys that are smart. They want guys that have a college degree. They want people. They don't want idiots, but also sometimes they prefer people that haven't. If you're going to be a quant, if you're going to be a guy writing algorithms and software and stuff, they want you to have a significant degree. But if you're going to be a trader, they don't necessarily care that you come from Harvard or a community college, right? Sometimes the worst traders actually come from those Ivy League schools. And the reason for that is, what have they been told their whole life? What do they think of themselves? Well, they think that they're the smartest people in the world. They think that they can never be wrong. And they look at trading as a math equation rather than probabilities and, style and edge and experience. So a lot of them actually really struggle and end up just failing and quitting because they can't wrap their head around losing, because they've done nothing but win, done nothing but make straight A's, done nothing but do good at school, do nothing but good at band or sports or whatever it is, right? Sports is honestly something they also look for, just competitiveness. But I thought it was interesting. One thing they told me, they're like, Ethan, I'm glad you're going for finance, and yeah, nothing but handouts. So they said, Ethan, we're glad to go for finance and all that, but then they kind of explained that to me. We don't necessarily care what degree you have. We want you to go to college. We want you to finish college. We want you to be a kid while you are one, because once you begin working, if you come work here or whatever, you're never going to stop, right? So enjoy the time you have. The market's always going to be there. And I'm like, look, guys, I got to pay my way, and I got to make money. So, I never put down trading, thankfully. But, um, some of the best traders that we have didn't go to some big name brand college. They may have barely made it through school, but we're in the business of making money. If you come here and you make money, we're going to make you a lot of money. If you make us a lot of money, we're going to make you a lot, you know? Is it helping me? Not necessarily for what I do. I think it's good to learn basic accounting and kind of basic finance stuff. And they don't really uh, teach like tax stuff a lot, but yeah, there is some pros to it. I'm at one of the better business schools in the country, which is nice, and I'm at the biggest school in the country, which is kind of crazy. But there he is, Wags. Y'all haven't watched the show Billions, you should. If you haven't watched the movie The Big Short, also you should. That's some upper level finance stuff. But yeah, I'm sure y'all have all heard the story about Wags and me, so I won't tell it again. But that guy's in Suits too, really. Interesting. Well, guys, we got about 10 minutes left here. I gotta finish up a paper, so I'm not gonna stay past the hour mark. But if there's other questions and whatnot, throw them at me. For example, in Tesla trading this morning, didn't get stopped out, stayed longer, and thought of buying one or more contracts to lower my average. But again, I couldn't know which Tesla going to go. Do you think that's a good strategy? So I never recommend anyone average down, especially if it kind of went past some sort of stop loss. Um, Averaging down can be a tool if done right, but if you sized completely, if you're at full size or a majority of your size, it's never the right thing to do to average down, because that could really get you in a hole. And then you're going to average down once and you're going to think that it could help you again, because then you're going to think, all it needs to do is bounce to here and I'll be break even and I'll take it. And a lot of the times you actually won't. So I never want to recommend you average. I'd rather you stick to your stop loss, because I want you to always remind yourself that you can get back in that trade. You can always enter again if it goes back to where you wanted it. That's something that blows up accounts, is because you won't accept the stop loss. It comes down more. You average down, bounces a little bit, comes down more, average, and especially at the end of the week, right? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, time decay starts killing your contracts. So, if you buy calls on Tesla at 250 and it goes down to 245 and you buy more, well, it may have to get all the way up to 252 for you to be break even, because those contracts have lost so much value over the time you've been waiting. So try to always stick to your stop loss, guys. I mean, that's like rule number one. I've blown accounts early on in my career doing the same thing. So, I wouldn't even consider that a strategy. That's simply just hoping and gambling. Averaging down is more so so like equities, right? So, averaging down as a whole is not a good idea, but dollar cost averaging, Sir Sleep, is good, right? Meaning, I have $10,000 that I want to invest in the market. I'm going to buy $2,500 worth now. If it goes lower, I'll buy $2,500 more. If it goes lower, $2,500 more, that kind of thing. But your plan is also to hold it for a long time. So that's not necessarily averaging down. That's, DCA, dollar cost averaging. So I don't know if that made sense or not, but that's how I look at it. Averaging down with weekly options is a very, very risky thing to do. I would rather you add into winning trades than add into losing trades, and that's just a mental block that a lot of people have, is they don't want to add into winning trades. They rather add to losing trades to help them get out of a losing trade, which in reality can hurt you much, much more. Yeah, weekly options too. Maybe on Monday, maybe Tuesday, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, trading those weekly contracts, especially zero DTEs, you can get smoked very, very quickly. And something else that, people don't really think about is later in the week, they think the, Tesla contracts were $600 on Monday and now they're $100. So they're much cheaper, so I can buy more. That's just not true, because the $600 contract may move 10, 20%. The $100 contract on a Friday could move 40, 50%, and even a smaller move in a smaller amount of time. So percentage wise, you can get crushed very quickly. So the rule of thumb is to size down as the week goes on, right? So like Monday, I'll be trading with kind of the most amount of size for the week. Obviously, there's like an A plus setup late in the week, I'll size up, but typically I will size down as the week goes on. So on Friday, I'm trading super light, but I also know that if I trade with $1,000 on Friday, I can make 40, 50%. But, and that would be $400, $500. Or I trade with, $2,500 on Monday or $5,000 on Monday, and I make my 10 to 20% there, and it's, it's still the same amount, right? Yeah, if you want to add to your position right next to your stop loss to see if it'll bounce, you can do that. And you may lose a little extra more than you would have if you didn't. But That's the only time you can do that. But just like Duco said, you got to stick to your stop, right? If your stop is, if Tesla breaks under 250 and you add a little more at 250 and 50 cents or 251, if it breaks under 250, you still have to get out. And your P&L may be a little bit worse than you were hoping, but it could go from 250 to 245 in 2 minutes and you're down a lot. And then you kind of freeze and you don't know what to do and you freak out and then you don't sell and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Yeah, exactly. You lose money twice as fast if you double down. All right, guys. Well, we're almost done here. So if there's any other questions, throw them at me. Dave B, Fasubi, Isaiah, Nuclearite, Brutal Trade, Mannequin, KC, Mark. Mark, you said something. Sula. Wowzers, you talked as well. Bag Zone. If you guys have anything, if you don't know where to type, you just click the little chat button next to the free live stream channel that you clicked on. You kind of hover your cursor around it. Later, Duco. Thanks for being here. It's all good, Brecco. If you have any questions, throw them at me. I'm happy to answer before I get out of here. Yeah, thank you, Duco. Carrie, thank you as well. I appreciate you guys a lot for being here. No, so Wednesday is the one day that I'm not live. But Mark, let's see, I think you're in my coaching, right? Or at least premium? Or premium. Okay, so Mark, you should be able to see this tab, right? Awesome, Mannequin. Well, glad to have you. Sir Sleep, thanks for being here as well. So yeah, Mark, if you can see that tab, that's kind of where my watch list will be in the morning. So you can at least see what I'm talking about. I just typically walk through any trades I take when I'm not on mic in my coaching chat. So for any of you guys here that are free and are interested in coaching or premium, I will throw the links in here. Here is the coaching link right here. And here is the buy 2-month, get one free for premium. That's going to be your best deal, honestly. But I will throw the 1 month in as well for y'all that would rather that. So there's all the links in case you guys want it. But yeah, thanks you guys for being here. That's good, Casey. I hate that you're taking L's, but it's part of it. Yeah, I mean, I used to put sticky notes on my monitors, you know. Yeah, Dave B, thank you for being here. Do you ever take a break from trading, or are you trading every day? I do take, I rarely take breaks. I took a little break over spring break, I think 2 weeks ago. So I took 3 days off, but that was honestly the first break I'd taken in a long time. So, on Wednesdays, if there's not a real good setup for me, I'll sit at my desk for 20, 30 minutes, kind of like, do some other work. And, just that's kind of my break day, because I stream and teach the other days. So, but I do have an earnings stream tomorrow at market close. So I hope to see some of y'all there. But other than that, guys, I'm going to wrap things up here. If you ever need me during the day, just do at Ethan in the chat. It'll give me a notification whether I'm on the go or at my desk, and I'll see it. If you ever need me, I have a ton of friend requests that I need to clear up. So just ask me in the chat to accept it. If you do add me and I miss it and you need to DM me. But other than that, guys, and also don't fall for any scams. I can promise you I won't DM you first, most likely, unless I talk to you here in a lesson or whatever. And I will never ask you for money. I will never ask you for any personal information. So want to mention that again. All right, guys. Well, anything else? If not, I'm going to wrap things up right now.